Now, yesterday was the 23rd of November, and that officially means it's Doctor Who's 60th birthday, so happy belated birthday, Doctor Who. Now, to do this, they ended up showing a lot of things involving Doctor Who, including an edit of the docudrama film An Adventure in Space and Time, now having this near the end with Matt Smith replaced by Ncuti Gatwa. Now, I personally didn't watch that one, but one thing I was told about by a family member that I did end up watching was they were going to do a colour edit of the 1963 story The Daleks. Basically, it was going to be an hour and a quarter long, and basically tell the entire story just now with extra added colour. Now, I have done a review of the original story of the Daleks from the 1960s that I'll put somewhere up here, if I remember to do so. It was originally 7 parts and was written by Terry Nation, and it aired from the 21st of December 1963 to the 1st of February 1964. And it shows the first encounter of the Daleks by the first Doctor, William Hartnell, and his companions Ian Chesterton, played by William Russell, Barbara Wright, played by Jacqueline Hill, and Susan Foreman, played by Caroline Ford. They end up landing on the planet Skaro in a petrified forest and investigating a Dalek city, but having to stop the Daleks from wiping out the Thals. The Daleks plan to drop a neutron bomb that will basically make the entire area irradiated, so that they can be the supreme race and just have the entire planet to themselves. The Doctor and his companions have to find a way to stop them, and they end up teaming up with a group of Thals, including Temesis, played by Alan Wheatley, Aladon, played by John Lee, Dione, played by Virginia Wetherill, Ganatus, played by Philip Bond, Antidus, played by Marcus Hammond, Elion, played by Gerald Curtis, and Christus, played by Jonathan Crane. Now, with the addition of colour to this story, I personally thought it didn't look all that bad. I mean, while I personally haven't seen the 2 non-canon Doctor Who films starring Peter Cushing, watching this through now with colour, it did kind of remind me of stills I've seen from those films. Watching it through, it did feel like something that they would do, which is very logical because apparently the 2 films, Doctor Who and the Daleks and Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD, were loosely based on existing serials of Doctor Who, with the first one, Doctor Who and the Daleks, actually based on this particular serial. Now, I was watching it through, and as I said, I didn't think it was all that bad. There were a few odd colour choices that I was watching it through, and I also noticed on social media that people were enjoying the story, but some thought some of the colour changes were a bit odd. For example, some people had issues with the petrified forest. They believed it, possibly because we viewed it originally in black and white, we kind of thought that the forest would be grey, because that's what we expect with the petrified forest, whereas other people were a bit dubious about that. I didn't have so much of an issue with that. Maybe I just wasn't all that into it at the beginning. The only 2 colour choices in this particular edit of the story that I thought were a bit odd, one was the Dalek interiors in the inside the Dalek city in Skaro. And while they don't seem all that bad, there were a few areas where I was watching and I was like, this looks like a Blue Peter set. I mean, no offence to the Blue Peter sets, but it did look distinctly a bit overly colourful in some areas, and I just thought to myself, yeah, I get that we're adding colour to this particular story, but I don't know. Some of these look a bit too bright, a bit too yellow. I thought the Daleks were more kind of dark areas, kind of grim and dingy, maybe cold metal steel, greys and the like, but I don't think it was all that bad. The only other area where the colour I felt was a bit of an odd choice was with the Thals, because the Thals look like humans, that's fair enough, but maybe because I viewed it in black and white originally with this story, I kind of expected their coats to be kind of like a grey colour, whereas now that they've added colour into this particular story, they made their coats kind of bright blue, which I feel was an odd choice. But either way, some people will have issue with adding colour to the story. I didn't think it was all that bad. The only other thing that I slightly question about this story, and maybe you can answer me down below in the comments, was that what exactly did they cut in order to get it down to scale? Because, as I said, the original was broadcast in 7 parts, and with each part being roughly 25 minutes long, if you add all that up, that comes up to roughly 175 minutes, or just under 3 hours. Now, this colour edit was 1 episode, like an hour and a quarter long, 75 minutes. So how they managed to get down from 175 to 75 minutes? And I did have a bit of a theory at first, because let's say that the opening title sequence and the ending title sequence at the end of each part takes roughly 2 minutes each, so 4 minutes per episode. Now, if you times 4 by the 7 episodes, that would come out at roughly half an hour, 28 minutes. And if you take 28 from 175, you end up with roughly, or around about 147 minutes. But that's still nearly 2.5 hours. So what else did they cut in order to get it from 2.5 hours to an hour and a quarter? Now, I have had some answers to this. Some people said, well, they cut certain scenes of the TARDIS, like bacon and eggs and other pieces, in order to get everything fitted in neatly. But if you know exactly what they cut down in order to make this story fit within an hour and a quarter, let me know down in the comments. Overall, I don't think that adding colour to the story hurt it all that much. I mean, as I said, I felt the Dalek interiors in some cases were a bit overly colourful. People had issues with the forest, and I personally think they could have chosen a slightly different colour for the Thalcoats. But all in all, do I hate it that this version exists? Absolutely not. I guess it's going to depend on how you feel about it. I mean, when they release kind of animated versions of these Doctor Who stories, often they will release a colour version as well, a version in colour. I personally prefer to go for the versions in black and white, just because that's how they were originally broadcast on television, so I feel that kind of gives more of the experience. But then again, that may just be me. And if they are going to go on to make more of these kind of colour edits of classic Doctor Who stories, I'd say go for it. I'd like to see what they come up with. I do kind of wish that we could get back some of the original stories that are still missing first, like the Celestial Toymaker, the Space Pirates, the Highlanders and the like, but if they're going to make more colour edits of these now that we're moving on with Doctor Who, I can understand that. So what are your thoughts on the Daleks now in colour? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Till next time. Well, actually, with Doctor Who's 60th anniversary now here, of course, tomorrow we're going to get a brand new episode of The Star Beast, as well as 2 more to come, Wild Blue Yonder and The Giggle. So hopefully by Sunday I should have my review of the first story out, The Star Beast. Until then, see ya.